Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and as I mentioned, I'm going to tell you a few Air Force pilot training urban legends that existed among the instructors. Now, this one, if you're that resourceful, you deserve to be an Air Force pilot. I'm not quite convinced this one is true. There are a couple things that might be a little suspect about it, but it's an interesting story and it's an enduring story. And it's a story I heard at different bases with slight variations, but it's an interesting tale, and I'll tell you about it. Now, this is back, this tale was told back at Vance Air Force Base, and as far as I know, it did not happen at Vance. Nobody there knew about it, but this was a story we knew of. Now, in the T-37 program, there's a quite a few number of solo flights. Students go up and you practice aerobatics solo, and you go and you fly patterns at the auxiliary airfield solo and stuff like that. It's to gain experience and confidence. And I remember this is way before we understood anything about G-lock. And I know you guys, modern fighter pilots are going to go, you guys in the T-37 know nothing about G-lock. Well, I'll tell you, a student pilot early in the morning who didn't really have breakfast or coffee, grayed himself out on a loop. And it was kind of interesting because I saw, everything come in, it got gray, and then I lost my vision. I didn't go far enough. It was interesting. I still had hearing, but I didn't go far enough that I actually totally blacked out. So supposedly, if you do that, you're gone for 17 seconds if it's a really serious G-lock. And we had a few crashes where it was suspected that the students had blacked themselves out and didn't recover at any time. But hey, I'm digressing here, okay? I know you expect that. This was a tale of a T-37 solo student who was going to go up and did some aerobatics and decided that he wanted to do some patterns at the auxiliary airfield. And like I said, the T-37 is a fairly complex aircraft, and there's a lot of pressure on the students to do well. And he was a little worried, or so the tale goes, about his landings, and he wanted to practice landings. And coming back to the main airfield, it's a little too busy, and yeah, you'll get a couple in, but normally you can't keep doing the closed patterns. You get sent around. But he wanted to go and fly at the auxiliary airfield and get some patterns. Well, the trouble was, the auxiliary airfield at the time was closed. And it wasn't closed because there were any problems with it. It was closed because they didn't have people to man the RSU, the runway supervisory unit there. They have a controller and observer. One guy watches the guy coming around to call that he's got his gear down and stuff like that, and the other guy watches him on takeoff. And they also have to have fire rescue. Well, they weren't able to staff it, but the airfield was functional. So the student, as the story goes, decided he's going to shoot some patterns. Nobody else is around. Man, I can get a bunch of quick patterns in. Well, he shoots a number of patterns, and then the story goes that on one of the patterns, he forgot to put his gear down, and he slides to a stop on the runway. And it's like, oh my gosh, he's thinking, what am I going to do? I've just screwed myself over. They'll kick me out of the program. I am in deep, deep defecation. So, story goes, he sits there for a second and he thinks, I got an idea. He keys the radio and goes, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And somebody up in the area answers him, and they say, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he goes, "I've just had both engines flame out. I've been trying to restart him, and I can't get him restarted." And they're saying, "Well, you should flame out." And he goes, "Well, I'm right over the auxiliary airfield. I'll just spiral down here and land. I'm just right over the top of it. And in trying to start the engines, I've lost so much altitude." He was still in the ejection envelope. He says, "I've lost a lot of altitude, and I couldn't get the engines restarted. But I'm in the pattern here. Okay, I'm coming around the pattern." And he goes, "Okay, oh my gosh, I put the gear handle down and nothing happens." And of course, you got the blowdown system, which is you just pull it and you blow it down. He could have done that, but big checklist thing. He doesn't have time to go through the checklist. That was his story. So the whole idea, he says, I can't get the gear down. I can't get the gear down. And supposedly the instructor up in the area says, "Well, just land anyway. It'll be all right." So he comes in and he lands. Otherwise you had to punch out. The airplane would be destroyed. All this sort of stuff. And he lands. happens, and then he makes the transmission that okay, I'm down safely. I'll open up the canopy and get out. I need to send somebody up to get me here, but I've slid to a stop on the runway, and the airplane is safe. Well, okay, he is the hero of the base. There's a little damage to the airplane, but he successfully recovered it, and they apparently never determined why he lost the engines or the gear didn't come out. And he didn't have enough windmilling hydraulic pressure or whatever. Anyway, they decide, man, this guy is a really good student. He saved an aircraft, so at graduation they give him an award. And he's at the bar, he's having a few little drinks and stuff like that, and he gets just a little bit snockered, and he sees his T-37 instructor over there, and he signals him over here, and he says, he's got his wings now, he's graduated, they're celebrating. He says, I just got to tell you, I was shooting patterns, and I forgot to put the gear down. I just slid to a stop. And the instructor says, yeah, I know that. And the student goes, what? He says, yeah, I was up in the area. I was watching the whole thing. I saw what you were doing there, and I saw that, you had slid to a stop. Then I heard the whole radio thing, and, it came across pretty well. And the student goes, you didn't turn me in? And the instructor goes, I figure if you were that resourceful, you deserved to be an Air Force pilot. Okay. Like I said, that's the story. It would be interesting if other people have heard various iterations of this, because I had heard a few back. I mean, this goes back into the 70s, okay? But if you've heard this story too, or know any more about it, I would be interested, because I know there's a lot of, instructor pilots out there in the Air Force or whatever. Who have, there's a big contingent of T-37 instructors and that. So if you've heard this tale or know any more details about it, I would love to hear in the comments. So anyway, I hope you found that urban legend enjoyable, informative, interesting, and possibly even true. But who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching.